It was the 6th of January, 2004. Beneath the burning sun of Dubai, the sand began to shift. Workers, machines, and visionaries joined hands to dig deep into the earth, not to find oil this time, but to create history, to build something that would pierce the sky itself. Their dream was simple to say, impossible to achieve: to construct the tallest building ever made by human hands. At that time, the title of the world's tallest building belonged to Taipei 101 in Taiwan, standing proudly at just over 500 meters. But what Dubai planned to build was unlike anything the world had ever imagined. Not just the tallest building, but one that would be a shocking 62% taller than the second tallest. No one had ever dared to break the record by such a margin. Before Burj Khalifa, every world's tallest had been only slightly taller than the last, maybe 5, 10, or at most 19% higher. But this was different. The target was 829 meters, a height that made engineers nervous and dreamers excited. 5.5 years later, in October 2009, the Burj Khalifa rose from the desert like a shimmering silver arrow pointing to heaven. The construction cost billions, took millions of man-hours, and involved over 12,000 workers from more than 100 countries. When it finally opened, the world was speechless. It wasn't just a building, it was a statement, a symbol of how far human ambition could stretch. And more than 13 years later, no one has managed to beat it. Every attempt has failed. But why? Why is it so hard to build taller than the Burj Khalifa? How tall can humans really build before nature itself says, enough? To understand that, we need to go back in time. For nearly 4,000 years, the tallest structure on Earth was the Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2500 BC for Pharaoh Khufu. It stood at 145 meters. That record wasn't broken until the 1300s, when a cathedral in England finally surpassed it at about 160 meters. Over the next 500 years, churches and cathedrals kept outdoing each other until the Eiffel Tower was built in 1889. But even then, the Eiffel Tower wasn't technically a building. No one lived or worked inside it. It wasn't until 1884 that humanity built what we truly call a skyscraper, the Chicago Home Insurance Building. It was just 55 meters tall, shorter than the pyramids, but it marked the beginning of something new. For the first time, buildings were made not for kings or gods, but for ordinary people, to live in, to work in, to build lives inside. From there, the race to the sky began, led by New York and Chicago, to booming cities in the world's most powerful economy. As people flooded in, land grew scarce, the only way was up. And so, skyscrapers became the icons of modern civilization. Then came the Empire State Building, an icon so famous it needs no introduction. Built in 1931, it remained the tallest building in the world for 40 years. That record was broken in 1971 by the World Trade Center, and then, in 1998, the title left America for the first time when Malaysia's Petronas Towers reached 452 meters. Taipei 101 took over in 2004 at 509 meters. But just 5 years later, Burj Khalifa shattered every record by leaping straight to 829 meters. Interestingly, when the Burj was first planned, the proposal was only for 550 meters. But the ambition grew. We can go higher, the designers said. And they did, much higher. The idea was not just to break a record, but to make one so unreachable that no one would dare to challenge it soon. Dubai at the time wasn't the futuristic city we know today. It was a small trading and fishing town that had recently struck oil. The leaders of Dubai knew oil wouldn't last forever, so they dreamed of transforming their city into a global hub for tourism, trade, and business. And what better way to announce themselves to the world than with a building that could be seen from the edge of the horizon? Burj Khalifa is so tall that if you stood on its top and dropped a coin, it would take nearly 20 seconds to hit the ground. So tall that you could watch the sunset twice, once from the base and again from the top. It cost about $1.5 billion to build, but it paid for itself many times over. Property prices around it soared, tourism exploded, and Dubai became a global brand. It was not just a success, it was an economic revolution built in concrete and glass. But what makes the Burj Khalifa so special that even after a decade, no one has topped it? The answer lies in its design. Viewed from above, the building has a Y-shaped plan, 3 wings radiating from a central hexagonal core. This structure, known as the buttressed core, was invented by engineer Bill Baker. It gives the tower unmatched strength and stability against both gravity and powerful desert winds. Without this system, the tower simply could not exist. To anchor the structure, 192 massive concrete and steel columns were driven 50 meters deep into the ground. For the upper floors, concrete had to be pumped higher than ever before in human history, so powerful pumps were built just for this project. The building's exterior is covered in over 100,000 square meters of glass, and remarkably, the entire facade doubles as the world's largest LED screen. Those stunning light shows you see on Burj Khalifa? They were not projections, they were created by 1.2 million LED lights built directly into the building's structure. And here's something fascinating. People living inside don't even notice the lights because they're installed only on the outer frames of the windows. From a distance, the whole tower turns into a dazzling TV screen, but such height brings unique challenges. Imagine a fire on the 160th floor. How would anyone escape? For that, engineers created pressurized, air-conditioned refuge areas every 25 floors, safe havens for emergencies, and staircases made from fireproof concrete. Since the Burj's completion, many have tried to go higher. The Merdeka 118 Tower in Kuala Lumpur is currently the second tallest at 679 meters, an impressive feat, but still far below Burj Khalifa's record. To projects, the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia and the Dubai Creek Tower were meant to surpass it. The Jeddah Tower, designed by the same architect as Burj Khalifa, was planned to reach over 1,000 meters, but political turmoil and the pandemic froze its construction. The Dubai Creek Tower, with an expected height between 838 meters and 1,300 meters, was also put on hold. Many other ambitious towers were proposed. The 1,001-meter Mubarak Al Kabir Tower in Kuwait, the breathtaking Sky Mile Tower in Tokyo planned to rise 1.7 kilometers into the sky, and even theoretical megastructures like Japan's Exceed 4000, a 4-kilometer-tall city meant to house over 1 million people. These ideas sound like science fiction because, for now, they are. But could we ever build them for real? Could we one day build something taller than mountains? Bill Baker, the engineer behind the Burj Khalifa, believes that with modified versions of the buttressed core, it's theoretically possible to build a structure more than 2 miles tall, over 3 kilometers. Maybe even taller than Mount Everest. The problem isn't just imagination, it's physics. The taller you go, the more weight crushes the bottom floors. The higher you climb, the stronger the winds become. Current materials like steel, concrete, and aluminum all have their limits. We'd need something stronger, lighter, and more flexible, perhaps advanced carbon fiber, to make the next leap possible. Even if we solve the engineering, there's another limit: the human body. Once buildings reach 1.5 to 3 kilometers in height, air pressure and oxygen levels begin to change. Just like mountain climbers in the Himalayas, people could suffer dizziness and nausea if they moved too quickly from bottom to top. The only solution would be to control internal air pressure like in an airplane cabin, an expensive and complicated system that would make living or even standing on high balconies unsafe. And beyond all these challenges lies the biggest one: money. Building skyscrapers this tall costs billions, and there's no guarantee they'll ever be profitable. For every Burj Khalifa that succeeds, there are dozens of failed dreams left in the desert dust. Governments hesitate to approve them because the same money could build schools, hospitals, and homes. China even banned buildings taller than 500 meters, calling them wasteful monuments of vanity. The truth is, only a few places in the world, like Dubai or Saudi Arabia, have the right mix of wealth, ambition, and political will to even attempt such mega projects. A century ago, that spirit lived in New York and Chicago, where skyscrapers were born. Today, it flickers in the Middle East, where oil-rich nations dream of futures beyond fossil fuels. And that's why, for now, and probably for the next few decades, the Burj Khalifa will keep its crown. It stands as a symbol of how far humans can go when they dare to dream higher than anyone before them, a reminder that ambition, not gravity, defines our limits. If you've stayed with this story so far, it means you love exploring the wonders humans create. So before we move on, hit that subscribe button, not just to support this channel, but because you don't want to miss the next journey into the impossible. Imagine discovering the science behind supersonic jets, underwater cities, or buildings that touch space. That's what's coming next, and now I want to hear from you. If you could build anything, a structure with no limits of money or materials, what would you build and where would you build it? Tell me your answer in the comments below. Let's see how high your imagination can go. Thank you for watching, my friends. Until next time, keep looking up.